The thing that intrigues me about this anti-Jewish business, as you play at it, is your total lack of grit. You are so indirect and roundabout with it, you make such transparent excuses, you seem to be suffering from self-consciousness so horribly, that if the performance were not grotesque, it would be irritating. It is not as if you were amateurs. You have been at it for over 15 centuries, yet watching you and hearing your childish pretexts, one might get the impression that you did not know yourselves what it is all about. You resent us, but you cannot clearly say why. You think up a new excuse, a reason is what you call it every other day. You have been piling up justifications for yourselves these many hundreds of years, and each new invention is more laughable than the last, and each new excuse contradicts and annihilates the last. Not so many years ago I used to hear that we were money grubbers and commercial materialists. Now the complaint is being whispered around that no art and no profession is safe against Jewish invasion. We are, if you are to be believed, Aton's clannish and exclusive and unassimilable because we won't intermarry with you, and we are also climbers and pushers and a menace to your racial integrity. 40 Our standard of living is so low that we create your slums and sweat industries, and so high that we crowd you out of your best residential sections. We shirk our patriotic duty in wartime because we are pacifists by nature and tradition, and we're the arch-plotters of universal wars and the chief beneficiaries of those wars. See the Protocols of the Elders of Zion. We are at once the founders and leading adherents of capitalism and the chief perpetrators of the rebellion against capitalism. Surely, history has nothing like USFR versatility. And, oh, I almost forgot the reason of reasons. We are the stiff-necked people who never accepted Christianity, and we are the criminal people who crucified its founder. But I tell you, you are self-deceivers. You lack either the self-knowledge or the mettle to face the facts squarely and own up to the truth. You resent the Jew not because, as some of you seem to think, we crucified Jesus, but because we gave him birth. Your real quarrel with us is not that we have rejected Christianity, but that we have imposed it upon you. Your loose, contradictory charges against us are not a patch on the blackness of our proved historic offense. You accuse us of stirring up revolution in Moscow. Suppose we admit the charge. What of it compared with what Paul the Jew of Tarsus accomplished in Rome? The Russian upheaval is a mere street brawl. You make much noise and fury about the undue Jewish influence in your theaters and movie palaces. Very good, granted your complaint is well founded. But what is that compared to our staggering influence in your churches, your schools, your laws and your governments, and the very thoughts you think every day? A clumsy Russian forges a set of papers and publishes them in a book called The Protocols of the Elders of Zion, which shows that we plotted to bring on the late World War. You believe that book? All right. For the sake of argument, we will underwrite every word of it. It is genuine and authentic. But what is that beside the unquestionable historical conspiracy which we have carried out, which we have never denied because you never had the courage to charge us with it, and of which the full record is extant for anybody to read? If you really are serious when you talk of Jewish plots, may I not direct your attention to one worth talking about? What use is it wasting words on the alleged control of your public opinion by Jewish financiers, newspaper owners and movie magnates, when you might as well justly accuse us of the proved control of your whole civilization by the Jewish Gospels? You have not begun to appreciate the real depth of our guilt. We are intruders, we are disturbers. We are subverters. We have taken your natural world, your ideals, your destiny, and played havoc with them. We have been at the bottom not merely of the latest great war but of nearly all your wars, not only of the Russian but of every other major revolution in your history. We have brought discord and confusion and frustration into your personal and public life. We're still doing it. No one can tell how long we shall go on doing it. 41 Look back a little and see what has happened. 1900 years ago you were an innocent, carefree, pagan race. You worshipped countless gods and goddesses, the spirits of the air, of the running streams and of the woodland. You took unblushing pride in the glory of your naked bodies. You carved images of your gods and of the tantalizing human figure. You delighted in the combat's oft field, the arena and battleground. War and slavery were fixed institutions in your systems. Disporting yourselves on the hillsides and in the valleys of the great outdoors, you took to speculating on the wonder and mystery of life and laid the foundations of natural science and philosophy. Yours was a noble, sensual culture, unirked by the prickings of a social conscience or by sentimental questionings about human equality. Who knows what great and glorious destiny might have been yours if we had left you alone? But we did not leave you alone. We took you in hand and pulled down the beautiful and generous structure you had reared, and changed the whole course of your history. We conquered you as no empire of yours ever subjugated Africa or Asia. And we did it all without armies, without bullets, without blood or turmoil, without force of any kind. We did it solely by the irresistible might of our spirit, with ideas, with propaganda. We made you the willing and unconscious bearers of our mission to the whole world, to the barbarous races of the earth, to countless unborn generations. Without fully understanding what we were doing to you, you became the agents at large of our racial tradition, carrying our gospel to the unexplored ends of the earth. Our tribal customs have become thievery of your moral code. Our tribal laws have furnished the basic groundwork of all your august constitutions and legal systems. Our legends and our folk tales are the sacred lore, which you croon to your infants. Our poets have filled your hymnals and your prayer books. Our national history has become an indispensable part of your pastors and priests and scholars. Our kings, our statesmen, our prophets, our warriors are your heroes. Our ancient little country is your holy land. Our national literature is your holy Bible. What our people thought and taught has become inextricably woven into your very speech and tradition, until no one among you can be called educated who is not familiar with our racial heritage. Jewish artisans and Jewish fishermen are our teachers and your saints, with countless statues carved in their image and innumerable cathedrals raised to their memories. A Jewish maiden is your ideal of motherhood and womanhood. A Jewish rebel, prophet is the central figure in your religious worship. We have pulled down your idols, cast aside your racial inheritance, and substituted for them our God and our traditions. No conquest in history can even remotely compare with this clean sweep of our conquest over you. How did we do it? Almost by accident. 2,000 years ago nearly, in far-off Palestine, our religion had fallen into decay and materialism. Money changers were in possession of the temple. Degenerate, selfish priests mulcted our people and grew fat. 42 Then a young patriot idealist arose and went about the land calling for a revival of faith. He had no thought of setting up a new church. Like all the prophets before him, his only aim was to purify and revitalize the old creed. He attacked the priests and drove the money changers from the temple. This brought him into conflict with the established order and its supporting pillars. The Roman authorities, who were in occupation of the country, fearing his revolutionary agitation as a political effort to oust them, arrested him, tried him and condemned him to death by crucifixion, a common form of execution at that time. The followers of Jesus of Nazareth, mainly slaves and poor workmen, in their bereavement and disappointment, turned away from the world and formed themselves into a brotherhood of pacifist non-resistors, sharing the memory of their crucified leader and living together communistically. They were merely a new sect in Judea, without power or consequence, neither the first nor the last. Only after the destruction of Jerusalem by the Romans did the new creed come into prominence. Then a patriotic Jew named Paul or Saul conceived the idea of humbling the Roman power by destroying the morale or its soldiery with the doctrines of love and non-resistance preached by the little sect of Jewish Christians. He became the apostle to the Gentiles, he who hitherto had been one of the most active persecutors of the band. And so well did Paul do his work that within 4 centuries the great empire which had subjugated Palestine along with half of the world, was a heap of ruins. And the law which went forth from Zion became the official religion of Rome. This was the beginning of our dominance in your world. But it was only a beginning. From this time forth, your history is little more than a struggle for mastery between your own old pagan spirit and our Jewish spirit. Half your wars, great and little, are religious wars, fought over the interpretation of one thing or another in our teachings. You no sooner broke free from your primitive religious simplicity and attempted the practice of the pagan Roman learning than Luther, armed with our Gospels, arose to down you and re-enthrone our heritage. Take the 3 principal revolutions in modern times: the French, the American and the Russian. What are they but the triumph of the Jewish idea of social, political and economic justice? And the end is still a long way off. We still dominate you. At this very moment your churches are torn asunder by a civil war between fundamentalists and modernists, that is to say between those who cling to our teachings and traditions literally and those who are striving by slow steps to dispossess us. In Dayton, Tennessee, a Bible-bred community forbids the teaching of your science because it conflicts with our ancient Jewish account of the origin of life, and M.R. Bryan, the leader of the anti-Jewish Ku Klux Klan in the Democratic National Convention, makes the supreme fight of his life in our behalf, without noticing the contradiction. Again and again the Puritan heritage of Judea breaks out in waves of stage censorship, Sunday blue laws and national prohibition acts. And while these things are happening you twaddle about Jewish influence in the movies. 43 Is it any wonder you resent us? We have put a clog upon your progress. We have imposed upon you an alien book and an alien faith which you cannot swallow or digest, which is at cross purposes with your native spirit, which keeps you everlastingly ill at ease, and which you lack the spirit either to reject or to accept in full. In full, of course, you never have accepted our Christian teachings. In your hearts you are still pagans. You still love war and graven images and strife. You still take pride in the glory of the nude human figure. Your social conscience, in spite of all democracy and all your social revolutions, is still a pitifully imperfect thing. We have merely divided your soul, confused your impulses, paralyzed your desires. In the midst of battle, you are obliged to kneel down to him who commanded you to turn the other cheek, who said resist notable and blessed are the peacemakers. In your lust for gain, you are suddenly disturbed by a memory from your Sunday school days about taking no tho tf or the morrow. In your industrial struggles, when you would smash a strike without compunction, you are suddenly reminded that the poor are blessed and that men are brothers in the fatherhood of the Lord. And as you are about to yield to temptation, your Jewish training puts a deterrent hand on your shoulder and dashes the brimming cup from your lips. You Christians have never become Christianized. To that extent we have failed with you. But we have forever spoiled the fun of paganism for you. So why should you not resent us? If we were in your place, we should probably dislike you more cordially than you do us. But we should make no bones about telling you why. We should not resort to subterfuges and transparent pretexts. With millions of painfully respectable Jewish shopkeepers all about us, we should not insult your intelligence and our own honesty by talking about communism as a Jewish philosophy. And with millions of hard, working impecunious Jewish peddlers and laborers we should not make ourselves ridiculous by talking about international capitalism as a Jewish monopoly. No, we should go straight to the point. We should contemplate this confused, ineffectual muddle which we call civilization, this half-Christian half-pagan medley, and were our places reversed we should say to you point blank, for this mess thanks to you, to your prophets and to your Bible 44-45 communism's Christian roots Christian theology is the grandmother of Bolshevism. Oswald Spengler Christianity and communism are very close spiritually and ideologically. This is a fairly well-known concept that has been adopted by various thinkers, from Thomas More to Lev Tolstoy. Few people know that the world's first socialist state was established in Paraguay and was based on the ideas of Catholic Jesuits before Marx created his teachings. The Society of Jesus, the Jesuit religious order, in the Catholic Church was roughly equivalent to the KGB in the Soviet Union. Above quotes taken from Pravda, the main Communist Party newspaper and leading newspaper of the former Soviet Union. From the article, Is there any difference between Christianity and communism? 30/04/2013 American newspapers claim that Stalin has been preordained to save Christianity. Joseph Goebbels 1 Communism is not anti-Christian, as is commonly believed. In addition to this, the Catholic Church in China has over 70 million members and is growing. There is also the Catholic Chongcheng Cathedral in Communist North Korea, the nominal cathedral of the Roman Catholic Bishop of Pyongyang, North Korea. The Russian Orthodox Church worked hand in hand with the Communist Party in the USSR. The violence against its clergy during the revolution was simply to weed out the Tsarist elements from its ranks, and nothing more. Stalin openly worked with the Orthodox Church to help the communist war effort for the Red Army during the Second World War. Today in Russia, high-ranking clergy in the Russian Orthodox Church openly advocate a Christian communist movement within their nation. The Catholic Church also has had a strong hand in the communistic liberation theology in South America. It's no mistake Catholic clergy could traverse the Iron Curtain during the Cold War with ease. 80 million Bibles printed in China, and counting. Link to article from Christianity Today http://www.christiantoday.com/article/80.million. Bibles printed in China and counting /27047.htm. Ernst Bloch, 1885–1977, was a German Marxist philosopher and atheist theologian. Although not a Christian himself, he is said to have bridged the gap between Christian communism and the Leninist branch of Marxism. One of Bloch's major works, The Principle of Hope, contains such declarations as, UBI 46 Lenin, IBI Jerusalem where Lenin is, there is Jerusalem, and the Bolshevist fulfillment of communism is part of the age-old fight for God. 2. In truth, Christianity prepares the populace to be open to and to accept communism. There is nothing within the Christian doctrines or the teachings of Nazarene that conflicts with communism in any way. Christianity is communism. Both programs work to enslave, using terror, brutality, mass murder, and coercion. The Catholic Church was the KGB of the Middle Ages, ruling through terror, use of force and mass murder. The Inquisition is a blatant example. Both programs prohibit the ownership of private property. Christianity prepares followers on a subliminal level for communism. Christians are indoctrinated to believe that poverty is a virtue. Once this concept takes hold upon one's subconscious mind, quite often, a serious lack of money is a result, and this sometimes even lasts into future lives. Speaking from a spiritual perspective, what this does is it also creates a self-perpetuating program, and in turn creates generations of poor. The Christian churches then appear as helpers of the poor and benefactors, when all along, it was the Christian teachings that created and enforced the problem. The Jew creates the problems and then gives the Jewish version of a damned solution for Gentiles. For more information, here is a link to an article concerning Christian mind control, http://www.angelfire.com/empire/serpentis666/mind control HTML. There is nothing at all spiritual about Christianity. Christianity is a tool for removing spiritual knowledge and powers, and replacing these with meaningless robotic prayers corrupted from and repeated in the same fashion as Far Eastern mantras, and endless indoctrination with false teachings aimed to embed a fictitious status and history of the Jewish people in the minds of Christians, which is nothing spiritual at all. Few if any Christian preachers can diagram the human soul, for example. The removal of and the corruption of spiritual knowledge prepares the populace to accept the atheistic communist state. Both Christianity and communism present themselves as brotherhood programs, promoting equality, prosperity, goodwill, and a better way of life, but upon closer examination of their real doctrines and histories, this is nothing more than a come along and beneath the surface, terror, mass murder, torture, forced indoctrination, and keeping the populace ignorant are the bulwark of both of these programs. Any fool who reads the Judeo-Christian Bible can plainly see endless accounts of mass murder, pillaging, rape, enslavement, and threats of eternal torture and damnation if the doctrines are not taken seriously or adhered to, and above all, how Jehovah was a murderous monster who preyed upon Gentiles, no different from the communist programs. For proof of this, see Jehovah and human blood sacrifice. A murderer and a liar from the beginning. http://see_truth.webs.com/energy.html 47 But those mine enemies, which would not that I should reign over them, bring hither, and slay them before me. Luke 19:27 Direct quote from Jesus advocating murder. Rebellion is a definite taboo and is of the devil. Christianity also prepares followers for communism in that one is indoctrinated to endure injustice. Nearly everyone has heard the biblical scriptures about turning the other cheek, walking the extra mile, loving one's enemies, and so forth. These teachings work together with communism in destroying the justice system and personal rights. Crime is allowed to get so out of control as it already has, that the populace is not only discouraged from fighting back, but if one should defend oneself, one is often punished for this. What these Jewish programs do, is they set a trap. Most people eventually are more than willing to give up their rights in favor of ultra-strict laws in order to control crime. Both programs prohibit taking any personal action in the way of enforcing justice and place this responsibility in the hands of the state for communism, and in the hands of the so-called God for Christianity. Any rebellion or fighting back is a grave offense. The acceptance of abuse and injustice are both very necessary for establishing a slave state. A slave must never try to fight back or rebel in any way. Hate is another taboo in both programs. A look into communism's birth. Communism was created out of the organization the League of the Just. The motto of the League of the Just, Bund der Gerechten or Bund der Gerechtigkeit, was all men are brothers, and its goals were the establishment of the kingdom of God on earth, based on the ideals of love of one's neighbor, equality and justice. At a congress held in London in June 1847, the League of the Just merged with members of the Communist Corresponding Committee headed by Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels, adopting a new organizational charter and program, constituting itself as the Communist League. 3this is the basis of the Christian doctrine. We can trace communism's roots back to the radical liberal ideology in Europe, which itself is Christianity in disguise. As Nietzsche stated about the French Revolution and its liberal ideology as the daughter and continuation of Christianity. This radical, universalist, egalitarian doctrine is at the heart of Christianity, and liberalism with its stepping-off point into communism. Where liberalism then morphed into communism openly, during the decade of the 1840s the word communist came into general use to describe those who hailed the left wing of the Jacobin Club of the French Revolution as their ideological forefathers. This political tendency saw itself as 48 egalitarian heritors of the 1795 conspiracy of equals headed by Gracchus Babeuf. The sans-culottes of Paris, which had decades earlier been the base of support for Babeuf artisans, journeymen, and the urban unemployed, was seen as a potential foundation for a new social system based upon the modern machine production of the day. The French thinker Étienne Cabet inspired the imagination with a novel about utopia and society based upon communal machine production, Voyage en Icarie 1839. The revolutionary Louis Auguste Blanqui argued in favor of an elite organizing the overwhelming majority of the population against the rich, seizing government in a coup d'état, and instituting a new egalitarian economic order. For a review of the emerging trends from Christianity to liberalism and into communism. Liberalism is Christianity without the Christ. William Gailey Simpson's Which Way Western Man Revilo Oliver, quote, "The other apostates I have mentioned, and many that are now forgotten, together with almost all of the anti-Christians of recent centuries, exemplify the operation of what may be called the law of cultural residues.